Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to the live stream. New York session trading time. It's been a while. Well, not really a while, but just 2 hours or something. So thank you for joining back here, guys. Just looking forward to seeing what price does for the interest rates coming up in an hour for the card. Really looking forward to that. Right. So basically, the only thing that I have going on right now is just waiting for those card news to come up. These are some trades that we took before during the London session. Sorry, right? 80 card looking to sell in early here with again the technicals and the fundamentals basically aligning, and also NZD USD a possible trade setup as well if price does come back down underneath this support zone right here, right? Technically, we are both lining up on the technicals, and fundamentally, we can see some USD recovery after those bond sell-offs that made the US dollar weak. We could possibly see price just basically get back from that, right? We could see a retracement all back from those previous movement and a continuation. Overall, though, the USD has been selling pretty heavily, right? We ran into the support here on the daily time frame. However, if that holds or not, really up to wait. We have to wait and see, right? Because technically, the market has been down quite a bit for the dollar, the index currency here. Um, we have been pretty bearish for the past couple of days, right? We have one, two, three, four, around 4 days right here of bearishness. So whether we reject from this area and we continue back upwards, we just have to wait and see. Technically, that is what we can expect. However, in the markets have been sort of a little bit unpredictable, right? So I think you need to just brace yourself for whatever happens here. More than likely, well, what we like to see is just price continue pushing back up, basically recover from that initial fall, right? But currently, where price is at, I I I really can't say with any certainty, right? There's nothing that can be said with certainty, especially in trading. But this, yeah, we could possibly see price do exactly what it did here and just break through that zone entirely, or we might get that support being held and price going back upwards, right? The only thing when I would take we have more of a reassurance as to seeing that happen, or more of a reassurance to okay, we could start buying the US dollar now, is if price comes back into this area here, right? So if it manages to come above this zone here where it last fell off, this area here, let me just highlight this a different color. Alright, yeah, so if price manages to basically recover from this initial fall here too on the day, then I think we should see that continuation, some dollar recovery. And that would actually line up with the other technical aspects that we do want to see for like the NCD USD if price push past this area, right? As you know, the dollar index and the US currency cross pairs, they are correlated to each other. This represents the USD strength of the currency, right? So the US currency strength, and it's that's why I'll pay attention to it sometimes, not all the time, because it don't always line up depending on the fundamentals. But for now, it does line up significantly, so it does play an important role with some of these USD cross pairs. So I think looking forward, continuing on for the rest of the week, and also for I believe next week when we have interest rates for the from the Federal Reserve as well. This would actually play like a detrimental part in terms of the overall fundamental and technical analysis of the US dollar. So that's all I'm waiting for right now. Possibly a recovery on this and then a continuation moving higher. All right. But for now, yeah, US dollar no go. This if it pushes back into that entry area, like I said beforehand, in the previous live stream, then yeah, that continuation seems a little nicer to possibly see happening. Um, yeah, overall though, 80 card recovery, looking pretty nice, right? We rejected the area, we basically maintaining that rejection a little bit. So looking for an overall continuation here with the card in mind. The other currency cross pairs for the AD, we could see that price is basically recovering from that initial push upwards, especially when income and we basically take into account that AD bullishness that we had from the CPI data as well as the inflation rate as well for the third quarter, the comparison that we did have, we had that AD strength basically rising, and again with the dollar weakness, we saw that movement upwards. Right, we covered a fair amount of pips in that movement, right? So that's something that we should note, and the recovery as well, as price could possibly push back, sorry, into these areas where it previously came from, right? Let me just change the template of this. Why not changing? Okay, all right. Don't know why that's not changing. Okay, it finally changed. All right. So yeah, daily on this, we have rejection zones here. Price pushed. Right, we can see that we have some this clear bearishness. Right, price pushed past this area. We have multiple rejections from this area right here on the daily time frame. Right, so that's just something to note. Price could potentially find itself all the way back up here, right? We could potentially come all the way back up here, where we'll see sellers step back in once more to take control of this market and continue further down, right? Long term wise, this is something that we could potentially see, right? Price comes, fill out this wick here, this daily wick. If it doesn't do that in the next 7 hours or so, we could get a fill on the next wick, then price could continue back downwards. So that's just something that it could possibly play out, right? So I would note that before I look for any AD USD sells, I wouldn't look to get in on any sells right now, or look to trade it. Sorry, I'm trying to get a word in my mind. Just look to trade it recklessly. So yeah, potentially we could see this swing to the upside, continue back into that resistance zone, and then a fall initiate from there. So that's something I think is worth paying attention to, right? This could possibly form a support. Again, we do have the kind of news, right? So it could potentially affect the US dollar, but this could potentially form a support for a push higher. Price could possibly pull back down right into this area right here. We can note this as an area of significance because we had the wick rejection from here, the bullish push back into that area right there. Price maintained it. We kind of zone consolidated for a while, and then we had that continuous push past that area, right? So this is a significant zone that I'll pay attention to for price to possibly pull back, and then a continuation back to those highs, right? Obviously, if we are to continue pushing further down, then you'll like to see price get past this area, right? Continue that push downwards, and then clear this consolidation zone, right? So let me just erase some of these things to make it a little clearer for you guys, right? So you like to see price push past this consolidation zone for this here, and then trade downwards, right? So if we get that push down and we clear that zone, then all of here is just clean movements to the downside that we could possibly expect, right? That is if prices to continue with that movement back down. But yeah, buyers for now, control of this market, pretty strong to the upside. Could look for retest on these areas right here, or even at the high right here, and then sells from this significant area, right? And there's something important that I think you should note, guys, because when you trade in, right, you should trade with significant areas in mind because they have a higher probability of price reaching into and a higher probability of price rejecting from, right? Whether you're in buys or sells, it doesn't matter, but you should really pay attention to the significant areas of whatever market, whatever currency pair you are looking at, right? Because when we trade in, we're talking about probabilities, right, guys? So the probability of this actually going higher it's have a higher chance of actually happening instead of looking to sell this right now. Again, we haven't hit that area of rejection yet, and as well as the current momentum being more on the bullish side of price, it just doesn't make sense taking these sells preemptively to the downside as yet, right? We want to see more confirmation for that. And that confirmation might involve, you know, maybe letting a few pips pass us. That's okay, right? Missing out on a few pips, that's okay. Because then you'll be in for the overall move and you'll have more of a clearer bias that price is going to happen and go in your direction, right? So that is something that you should pay attention to. And the thing is, a lot of traders, especially those new to the trading space, a lot of traders, they have that mentality, that get rich quick mentality, and they wanna see earnings from trading immediately, right? And when you have that kind of mindset, then nah, you just setting yourself up for failure, right? You're just setting yourself up for unnecessary stress. You're setting yourself up for unnecessary stress, and unnecessary trades are going to follow suit because now you want to take a trade where there might not be a trade, right? You want to take a trade where your confluences don't line up. So that's something that you want to pay attention to, especially with trading. It's all about mindset, all right? And the hardest thing, this is a little side note for you guys, right? The hardest thing in trading is taking no trades, right? The hardest thing in trading is taking no trades, right? That is the hardest thing to do in trading, taking no trades. Because when you look at trading and when you look at people who are successful in trading, you want to be like them, right? And this is just like a little side note for you guys as we wait for the charts and stuff to play out, right? You want to be like them. And the thing is, when you see these traders trade and they make like their high returns and whatnot, like Raja Banks, maybe like Trader Nick, Q Banks, Lambo Roll FX, Mamba FX, these people, right? The ones that show you lifestyle, not Racha Banks, right? But the other ones, right? The ones that show their lifestyle and stuff like that, how much returns they make in is so amazing and all of that. You want to be like them, right? And you push that mentality of wanting to be like them on you, and you try to make things that aren't there appear, right? Especially in terms of trading setups. So you have to get yourself out of that mentality. Like if you want to reach to that point, then you have to take that out of your mind. Like imagine that you want to reach to that point where they are in life, but for you to reach that point, you have to ignore that they are at that point, because then you're gonna play on your own psychology and stress yourself out unnecessarily, and that would lead to you taking bad trade setups, and basically, you could possibly fail continuously or more than you would if you just focus on your trading strategy, implementing it, and having some patience, right? So that's the thing here. We could take a trade to downside here, looking to say, okay, we was approaching that zone right here of resistance. Price was gonna reject from it. This bearish candle seems pretty strong, so I think a continuation is going to happen to the downside, right? And that might be possible, but are you sure that's the best that you could do, especially when you're executing your trading plan, right? You're gonna go on that just because you think it's going to reject from that area right now where it is, without even retesting the actual important level, like this resistance, this daily resistance zone. You think it's going to continue down despite the bullish momentum you've been seeing consistently, right? Exactly. So that's what you need to pay attention to, right? Your mindset. And taking no trade sometimes is the hardest thing you could do. So we'll just wait for this. Either price just retest from this area, it goes back up into the zone where we could potentially sell off from. It may push down from here, right? It may come back right into here and then push back up. We don't know, right? Or it may actually fall all the way down. We miss out on a couple of pips, whatever. But we know for a fact that if price pushes all the way down here and we get past this consolidation zone, then it's more than likely going to continue that fall off, right? So that's the thing. That's the thing that you should pay attention to. So this, I'll wait for a trade after price pushes past this area, because there's a higher probability of that happening. Or once we reach into this zone of resistance, if we get some wick rejections, just like the other daily candles, if we get some wick rejections from here, then that continuation seems more probable as well back to the downside. because then you're testing a very significant level, right? The overall trend being downwards as well. So, right, this temporary momentum to the upside basically becomes insignificant compared to the overall trend, especially when fundamentally we would align fundamentally and we have other USD news to look forward to that would impact or influence that trade to the downside. So, yeah, that's just some things to note because this here is a psychological level, right? Right. So this here, a psychological level. It's a psych level, right? That's something to note there. At this point, it's a daily level as well, daily rejection level. And thirdly, we have USD news. That heavily impact the trade movement, right? So this is why I would pay more attention to this level of price return to here rather than trying to take the trade right down here, right? Um, so yeah, this is potentially what I'm looking to see happening. With that being said, we know that the US dollar news may be more of a bullish, have more of a bullish factor impact on the currency itself, just because overall we have had a hawkish Fed, right? So all of this leading is market expectancy and things like that, right? We have a hawkish Fed. We don't really have any reason to believe that the news event that we have up and coming for the USD is going to be on the negative side. Thus, we could potentially take that trade up here, knowing that, all right, we're going to see pricing in on a USD strengthening a move back to the downside, right? So that is something that I think has a lot of potential to actually play out. So hopefully you guys get something out of this, right? Because I just want to be able to help you guys learn, understand more about the Forex market situation. Understand that it goes deeper than just the technical aspects, that fundamentals really do play an important role, especially when it comes to trading. And when you're trading, right, you're not just trading price movement, right? But you also have other things involved, such as human emotions, right? So it have a lot of psychological things to do as well in trading that you should pay attention to, right? Or at least if you do pay some attention to, it would help you in better making trading decisions, right? Because now you'll know that, okay, maybe I should stay away from this level right now because that's a psychological level. It'll have, things going on there. It might have a stop hunt, as some would say, right? It'll have liquidity right there. So that's an area where I could potentially get into. I have a higher probability of seeing my trade play out rather than if I try to, just jump in the trade because you're suffering from FOMO or something like that. So that is something that you should pay attention to, right, guys? So hopefully that helps you a little bit, right? I just want to be able to help you guys any way that I could provide information. Then yeah, that's what I'm all about. So if you guys understand thus far what's going on, feel free to leave a like on the video as well as comment, right? If you want any charts to be looked at, then feel free to comment what charts you're looking at, what you guys got going on right now, what you guys trading. I'd like to know as well. All right. Here on Euro UD, right? We can see that the euro is actually kind of subtly recovering from the initial fall here. On the 4 hour, it's kind of choppy, right? We are in a sort of a zone right here. Um, yeah, with that being said, I don't know. I don't know. Like Euro 80, the only reason why I took this trade initially to begin with was because we had that 80 the news coming in and we were at a basically a cleanish level, so to speak, with the overall trend being, this zone that could be potentially filled out, right? So we entered here right around we had those wick rejections, the stop loss right above these levels right here, right from the other initial sell that we did have. And that continuation seems like something that would be probable, right? I believe somewhere around right here is where I entered initially, and price started falling. We started rejecting from right around this area here. I look clean to take that setup as the news was happening the hour after on this candle right here. And it wicked down, got out at that 2%, came back up, and you see we gradually continue that downward movement, right? So right now, it looks like price is decently probably going to try to recover from this movement, um, because that AD strength is again dying away. So yeah, this could probably continue moving upwards. I think this could probably continue moving upwards. But in terms of like trade setups for this, nah. I'm not gonna enter anything on this to be honest right now. I'm taking today very slowly, only looking forward to that interest rate decision, see what price does with that. And the thing is, we could potentially get a lot of moves out of that interest rate decision, right? Right now, let me just pull this up and sign in. All right, so beforehand, what we had, right? We had price basically being, we had the AD, sorry, we had the card interest rate decision being priced in, right? So we saw some card strength being displayed. Leading up to the news itself, something that could happen, and we've seen it happen before, is maybe price. Let me just pull up this for instance, right? Two things could happen here, right? One, the news does come out, price continues that push downwards, right, in favor of the card. That'll be great. That's what we want to see. That's where we'll get our money from on this trade, right? On another note, what could happen as well is price wicks back. We get a wick to the upside, right? And then a continuation back down on that same 1 hour candle form, right? It depends on how volatile that news is. Now, usually interest rate is volatile. It has a lot of volatility. It carries a lot of weight, but we also dealing with high inflation, right? So that's another factor that needs to be taken into account as well. That high inflation and the fact that the Canadian economy inflation is pretty high, right? um, that interest rate decision might negatively impact the card, only temporarily though, right? When I say negatively, I just mean in terms of the price movement. Instead of seeing the card strength, we might see the card weaken and price pull back, right? So that's something that could happen. We've seen this happen before on AD interest rates, CHF interest rates, as well as I believe euro interest rates as well, right? um the previous month before, right, we did see that sort of movement happening, even though the interest rate decision did come out um as better as the previous. We did see that negative movement on the currency, so that is something that could actually happen. But taking in all of that into account, I do think that we could get that continuation down for the card, right? So that's overall, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for those continuations, but I'm not dismissing the fact that it could pull back first, right? We could wake up first and then correct that candle movement to the upside, right? It's just something that could happen. Markets could be unpredictable sometimes, right? Everything could line up for you, but at the same time, it doesn't have to work out in your favor. And that's why we manage risk, which is about the only thing that we could control, right? The patience as well as us, how much we want to risk per trade. That's like the only amount of control that we do get in the market, right? How much we're willing to put on the table to actually lose or make a profit from. But with that being said, we in the TrinFx VIP are decently up despite it being a kind of a crappy month. Um, we were able to do pretty solidly well. So the risk itself isn't really too it's not really putting a damper on us taking riskier setups or anything like that. And that's why we could afford to actually wait for those news events to see what happened. I'm really just looking at this NZD USD, right? I'm probably would get into that trade if price manages to break the downside here. Right. So again, initially why I didn't enter right above here is because I want to be able to get in with a pretty tight stop to get the maximum amount of yields that I can from this trade. And that would suggest that price either If we push past this area here of support, this kind of consolidation area where we're in right now, if we push past this area, then the likelihood of price actually pulling back up is decreased, right? Because now we're basically saying that, all right, sellers have more control in this market environment. The bearishness looks good to continue moving on. So that's why I like to see a bearish close into this area, out of it, right? A nice bearish close out of that area, then the continuation seems highly more likely, and then I'll be able to pull a trade something like this, a pretty tight stop, and just let the trade run however long I want, right? So just like the target of this lows right here. So this is something that I think is yeah, it just seems more probable. And this is something that I do on a regular when it comes to my trading. I would look for areas where I could put in a pretty tight stop, because then I'll be able to significantly increase my overall yield from that trade, my risk reward, as well as, being able to maximize those yields and manage the trade accordingly, right? Without putting too much of a risk on myself. Like even something like that, usually that would be like a 1 to 3 for most people, because they extend their stops pretty significantly, right? But with that being said, when you're able to pick an area where price may continue moving on, there's a higher probability of it not retracing back up past that candle. Then even if you risk 0.5%, you're still able to make a lot more, or about the same amount of those that are risking, more of they have a bigger stop loss, right? And it just shows the comfortability that you do have in terms of your trading plan and strategy for yourself. It's something that makes consistent returns for me, so I'm not too worried about that. So this, yeah, if we get a close back down here, then yeah, those continuations seems like something I'll potentially get into. And also again, if this just recovers and push past back up into this area, then that just gives more of a confirmation to see those USD continuations. But yeah, looking overall, it looks like we're slightly seeing a pullback on the card, right? Yeah, it looks like we're slightly seeing a pullback on the card right now, leading into those interest rates. That's why I said we could potentially see that spike up. I do have a trade on this as well here on GBP card on a funded account. Risking around 1% with a I believe, 0.3 lot size, right? Around $3 per pip. Yeah, risking around $150 or something, so like that. Looking for this to potentially play out here. We do have some nice wick rejections from this side right here overall, as well as if you want to stretch it, you could say some sort of divergence. Looking at the 4 hour, nice rejection zone here, strong rejection zone, as you can see, as price pulled back from this area strongly here. So looking for that continuation, right? And those that card news could possibly be the catalyst for that continuation back down, right? If this obviously doesn't stop me out first, because I mean, it does looks like it might wake up, but we'll see, right? We'll see. I'm not stressing out on it. Pretty relaxed trading day. Just waiting for this card news to hit, as well as what we have afterwards, right? So we have the card news. Then an hour later we have the BOC press conference as well. All right, so this might actually, if price does push up, then this might give us another movement to the downside, right? So let's just look and see what we have here for the Bank of Canada, right? So the policy interest rate 3.25%. That's where it's at right now. And total CPI inflation is 6.9%, right? So just something to note as well. So yeah, we're waiting for those rate announcements, the monetary policy statement to come to. Let's look at some of the news, right? Let's look at some of the news. What's going on here? Right, so we're talking about restoring price stability, as well as, we have a survey here for consumer expectations for the third quarter, right? And did we have consumer news for the card? No, no, we did not. Did we? No, we don't have any consumer confidence news for the card dollar yet. Um, But yeah, looks like we had some, okay, so we had some points here, right? Commodity prices falling to the high. Supply bottlenecks are improving, shipping costs are declining. So overall, yeah, it looks like we are recovering pretty nicely. Higher price for energy, food, and tradable goods explain most of the surge in inflation we're experiencing because many of these prices are set globally. Canadian monetary policy cannot influence them, right? And global forces can also explain why inflation has eased slightly since its peak in June. For example, right? We had the commodities are falling from their highs, supply bottlenecks are improving, and shipping costs are declining, right? And this is something that you should note as well, right? Because I don't think a lot of people actually pay attention to this, especially when it comes to like those supply bottlenecks, shipping costs, and these sort of things, and inflation in goods, right? The Canadian monetary policy can influence them, as well as any currencies inflation. Sorry, any currencies interest rates can't really affect this, right? Because this is something that's happening globally, and it's a surge in inflation that everyone's experiencing because of those price and energy and food and tradable goods going up, right? And it's set globally. So we and economies, they don't have no control of that, right? The central banks at all these economies and stuff, they don't really have a control of that. So even though as the interest rates and stuff rise up, it could mean that price on a lot of these goods and for the average consumer may stay the same, right? Because this is something that's set globally. And one country's effort to reduce their own inflation isn't really going to affect um, items that are imported from outside, right? So that's something that you should note as well. So this may actually have an effect on GDP growth as well as the consumer price index as well, right? So which is why they need to have a lot more scrutiny when it comes to using this as a data point for measuring inflation. Um, so yeah, we need to increase the interest rate more, increase interest rates 5 times since March, right? So quite a lot. They've increased it quite a lot. And we're already seeing results from our action sectors that are more sensitive to interest rate increases, like housing, are already slowing. We'll also be keeping a close eye on demand, supply, inflation. Okay, so see how the interest rates are working to cool the economy. Also, the quickly challenges are resolved, how quickly challenges are resolved for the supply and inflation to see how it responds to higher interest rates, right? So they are gradually seeing some results from those interest rate spikes. So again, what that may mean for the card, these interest rates should be positive as we continue along with that overall the overall benefits being reaped from those interest rates increased as they spoke about. So that is something that we could potentially see. We could potentially see that that card actually falling. Actually, sorry, not falling. But in this case, sorry, right? We could potentially see that card actually gaining strength overall. Technically, still we are lining up pretty good. But yeah, it looks like we could pull back still. We could still see some pullback movements before the interest rates itself, right? Um, Again, the volatility spreads could widen and this could possibly stop me out. I'm not going to remove my stop loss or anything. That's something I would do, but since this is a funded account, I'm not going to do that because yeah, what if like on the off chance that price just spikes all the way up, then just lose that funded account for nothing. So I would leave my stops in place. If it stops me out, then so be it. That'll just be it, and we look for another possible entry. The 80 card as well. All right, this the stop loss on this is pretty significant. So we should see price overall maintain this and continue back downwards, right? At least that's my expectancy on this. Um, yeah, so we don't really have much going on in the market. We're just waiting for those things come out. Anybody have any charts that they want to look at? Anything they would like to discuss? Anything that you'd like to see as we wait? We have 24 minutes on this to wait in. If you have any charts that y'all looking at, feel free to either link them and we can look at them, or or share thoughts in the live chat. All right. Yeah, so like yeah, got CHF pulling down. I'm just cycling through some of these charts. We see that this here pulling back up here on 80 CAD, right? So we're seeing those pullbacks. The GBP CAD as well, seemingly kind of pulling back even more. Once we don't pass these highs right here, I'm good. Right? I'm not gonna change anything, but it'll just give me a more certainty to say, all right, then we're gonna see that continuation back down. It's no worries at all. Um, GPCHF, this was a trade I took. Price started dancing right around here, came out of the trade though, because once you see these consolidations, then it could go either way, right? These consolidations say you don't want to see that. When you're in a trade, it's usually a sign you should possibly get out at that point, right? Because then that just means that okay, the amount of buyers and sellers are equal. Why are they equal? What's going on? Why can't this trade continue downward? Why is there not enough volume for that continuation moving downward? Maybe it's something it's gonna have a breakout, right? It could be either to the upside or the downside. Now, do you really want to run that risk of it possibly breaking to the upside and stopping you out, and you take a loss where you could have taken a small win, right? Because a small win is still a win, right? Once you're in profit, it's profit. It doesn't matter where is $2, $5. It's better than negative 100 and something, right? It's better than negative 1% of your account. So yeah, at this point, came out of that because we don't want to see this. We don't want to be in a trade and we start seeing these consolidation movements right around our entry point. That don't make sense. It don't make sense staying in that. So at that point came out, price wick to the upside. You could say we are seeing a sort of a divergence. Yeah, I don't readily trade divergence. It's not something I do anymore. But you could say that is a divergence for price to come back to the downside. I would look to get into this trade right around entry if it does come back down, right around the entry point, and then the continuations all the way back down. Yeah, that seems more probable. And you can see we did have a buy actually as well, right? So earlier on we did take a well, I did take a buy, but then price started to dance around the stop loss level and came out, as you can see, wick down, and then it started just bouncing back up. At this point right here, when price initially fell and then I saw this wick back here and then this bullish candle close, and then when this candle was closing back at the entry point, I wanted to get into the trade, but at that point I know that I didn't want to get into the trade just because it wasn't from the mindset that all right, this looks like a good trade, so it looks like whatever price was doing before, it's over with that and we could possibly continue moving up. It was more out of the mindset that wait, I really feel like this trade is going to just start going back up for me, man. And I'm not in the trade, and that's just so upsetting. So I want to risk it and enter the trade, but at the same time, that's not part of your trading plan, right? So had a hold out on this, didn't take the trade, and I'm little upset by it, but you have to stick to your rules and stick to what you know, and yeah, just overall, that would breed your consistency and profitability, right? So even though that this did play out for a nice 5.7% and even higher, I'm not upset by it. Not as much as I would have been when I now started my trading journey. Um, which I guess a lot of people who are new to the space will actually also be experiencing too, right? As you're new to your journey, seeing things like this could really be upsetting, right? It could really play a lot on your psyche, especially when you've been taking back-to-back L's or something like that. Then seeing something like this, that trade that you didn't enter being a trade that played out all the way to your profit target, it could be a little upsetting. But you live and you learn and you grow from your mistakes and yeah, not taking a trade. Right, the hardest thing is not taking a trade. So yeah, this didn't fit in my rules, especially when it came back up here. Could have gotten it, but it wouldn't have been in a place where I'm assured that it would have continued up or the probability of it continuing up being in the back of my mind that I know that all right, yeah, high probability of this continuing up. It's in my trading rules, so I'm gonna enter it. Nah, that wasn't at the point of time. At the point of time, I wasn't thinking about that. The moment I would have possibly taken this trade is when it made this wick back down, when it was like right around here, and then this candle closes that bearish candle, right? So at that point, I would have taken the trade if I saw that happening. But I wasn't up, I was asleep. So it played out, whatever. All right. Other trades, we could see that the JPY pairs, right? They have been more or less consolidated and just ranging side to side. Now, if you want to be like the gambler of the trader community, right? If you want to be the gambler of the trading community, well, you could trade this range if you want. Me personally, I'm not doing that, right? Because this just shows, yes, consolidations. And previously, what we had happening before is the intervention from the Bank of Japan, which is why we see all these weird movements, these weird candle movements. Watch, we have consolidation, price moving sideways, then boom, price just pushes all the way down here, right? Price started moving back up, and we thought that, okay, we're gonna possibly recover from that overall move to the downside. Boom, price just pushes back down here, stops you up. You might even get some slippage, right? Your whole account gone, your account balance saying negative $116. Been there, done that. Not looking to do it again, right? So yeah, so this just no trading zone, no trades at all. This here is just a complete mess on the yen pairs, right? Even GBP, GBP, JPY too, just a complete mess. I wouldn't trade this, right? If you're like one of those persons that scalp, then sure, this might present some opportunities for you. I don't know. Maybe if price manages to come above these areas right here, then you could get a wick fill. You could potentially fill back up to the zone, right? So if price manages to close above here, then you could possibly trade this range here for around 30 pips, right? But personally, that's not my trading style, so I wouldn't even dream about doing it. And the thing is, a lot of people, right? Um, Sometimes, especially if you're part of a trading community group or something like that, and people readily share their wins, losses, whatever. Well, people on a whole readily share their wins. Everybody hides their losses because I don't know. Everybody want to be perfect in the public's eye. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's something you readily see. Everybody shares their wins, and people barely share their losing streaks or anything like that. And that's part of the whole journey of trading, right? And any investment really, because trading is like an investment. It's like a personal business. Any business has its ups and downs, and also has its moments where the total amount of revenue doesn't exactly add up to the total amount that you spend or that you put out. So that's completely fine. But people have a tendency to hide their losses because everybody wants to be perfect. I don't know why, right? But yeah, if you want to, then you could possibly trade that range. And the thing is, with a lot of people, again, coming back to that community talk, um, when they see other people winning with a strategy that's not their own, right? Or they see other people implementing something else, they automatically, and especially for those that are new to the trading space, they automatically start going to the point of, damn, my trading strategy, my plan just doesn't work no more. I need to do something, else I'm gonna stay a loser. I'm gonna stay unprofitable for the rest of my trading career, and I don't want to be at that point, right? So I'm going to implement whatever this guy is using and implement it in my trading strategy because he's winning. He's obviously doing something right. So I'm gonna just follow what he's doing, try to mimic it, and try to make profits from it. And yeah, it might work out for you, but at the same time, right? You're doing something out of the fear, out of feeling like your trading strategy is no longer working, right? Right? Because you've just been experiencing maybe back-to-back losses, right? And everybody else have the losing streaks, right? And you start experiencing that, and you end up in that mindset. You end up in that area, right, within your mind, your psychology, where it's like, nah, I need to do something because this not working out. Now I feel like you quit trading. I just lost $200, but this guy just made 2,000. we had the same account. So like, how did he do that? And you just go learn this whole new strategy, then boom, that strategy stops working as well because you fail to understand that in markets, any and every strategy could be profitable, right? Any and every strategy could be profitable. There's no one golden strategy, there's no one golden rule, there's nothing like that. Nothing like that exists. And anybody that tells you that, because on a lot of these forex courses, a lot of these gurus, a lot of these people who flex the lifestyle, who shows you the abundance of wealth they have and stuff like that, they would tell you, or they would make a course and tell you, hey, this is one strategy that you need in order to be profitable. This is the golden rule. This is the golden strategy. If you implement this, you could turn that $100 into 10,000 in a month. And it's like, no, 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 no. And if you fall for that, I have no sympathy for you. I mean, kind of, but at the same time, you need to understand the market. Nobody has control of it, right? The market is like Wild West. Nobody has control of it. It could be a friend, and at the same time, it could be an enemy, right? You have to understand. You have to understand that, right? And when you have a strategy, when you have a plan for yourself, you need to stick to that plan. Your plan is the only thing that you could trust. If you backtest, work with your plan, and you see, okay, it's profitable in some scenarios, and in some scenarios it might not be, you label those scenarios so you know what works and what doesn't work for you. You know what trading setups you're looking for and what setups that you should stay away from. And you just stick with that. Now, your returns and everything, it will gradually grow. Maybe not at the pace that you wanted to, but that's part of life. That's part of the journey of trading, right? Not everything works out anytime that you want to, but if you stick to a plan, you stick to that strategy, and you have discipline, then that's just gonna breed a habit, right? And that habit is profitability. So that is something that I think everyone should just make a mental note for themselves when it comes to trading. All right. Don't study about who making how much, who doing this, who made $1,000, who made 2,000, and you just lose $250. Don't study that. Don't study what other people doing. Put on your blinders like those horses that, when they have the blinders on, you're not looking left, you're not looking right, you're looking straight ahead. You're looking at what you're doing, you're focusing on that. If you need to refine it, let it be from a place where you can say with certainty that, okay, with the current market conditions, I need to make some sort of change to my strategy in order for me to be profitable. If this is going to continue on, then yes, so do that. But don't do it because you're looking at Jeff and you're looking at Mary and you're looking at this other one, and you're seeing that, okay, they're doing so much better than you, right? And now you want to learn from each one of them. You want to learn how their strategy works, and you're taking all that information, it's jumbled up, and you still can't see any profitability, right? So yeah, just some food for thought, guys. Right? So hopefully you're getting what I'm saying, and just not there just listening like, oh, what is he talking about? Hopefully that makes sense, right? So looking on GBP card, this is the pullback that we're seeing right now. As we wait, we have around 11 more minutes leading up into those interest rate decisions. Price is coming back into this area of rejection right here. So yeah, potentially price could actually push past this. That is a possibility, or we could completely reject from this zone, right? So you're just waiting and seeing. At this point, I would say anybody that's looking to try and trade the interest rates could get into it. Price pulling back here as well. So what I'll do on this actually on the 80 card is actually I'm going to take half off right now, and I'm going to put a buy stop. Sorry, a sell stop. Sorry, a sell stop below this level. All right. So let me just take this out here. So I'm gonna move half off of this, and then I'm gonna put a sell stop below this level for a continuation. If you see a continuation, right? So my stops would be right above the wick of this current candle that's forming, and I'll be targeting like right here. Right, so around 3%, right? So reducing the risk and looking to take a trade if we get that continuation in direction that you want to see, right? So yeah, this pulling back up into the zone as well. So basically this might do the same thing as well, right? So price comes here, then you're just gonna get that wick away from price as the interest rates come out. All right. Again, we're not denying the fact that price could just continuously push up because we do have other factors in place such as the high inflation and stuff like that. So that is something that plays a factor into this whole thing. But yeah, overall, we're looking at the probabilities, right? Even here on 80 USD, we can see that, all right, see how price maintain this supportive level and it's pushing right now. It could just wick all the way back down, right? Anything could happen in these next 10 minutes right now. So yeah, this as well. We could either push up or pull down. Obviously, if we push up here, then we would push up on the 80 card and the other cross pairs as well, such as the card pairs as well as like the GP USD and stuff like that. All right. So yeah, price is coming into my alert here. My alert is very annoying, so I'm gonna take it off. Let me just take that off. All right. And we should start seeing like spreads widen and all of that as we come into the news event itself. So yeah, even all of that could have an impact on my overall trade actually getting stopped out. Because spreads widen and all of that might get slippage and whatnot. But for now, we're just waiting and seeing. Right. So let me just. This is the Discord group. If I pay, right. Let me just send a chart real quick to show what I'm looking to do afterwards, right? So initially putting a buy stop right around this area right here, right? So we put a buy stop right at 87,694. No, sorry, not 87,694. 87574. 87574. And let me just make sure that's correct. Sorry. Oh, risking 1% on that. Alright, so risking 1% on the 80 card sell stops and just link that chart. Right. So yeah, this is the next trade. Right, because at this point we could actually start reducing our risk. And overall basically maintain everything. I don't know why this everyone I misspelled it. All right. So this is what we're looking at right now. This is what we're looking to possibly see. All right. So next 6 minutes we have news coming out. Ah, just wait and see what happens, guys. Here, and we might call it a day, right? We might call it a day. Just end things after this because then we possibly just gonna see a correction if price actually pulls all the way back down in favor of the card. The next hour candle, we might just see a correction of that movement, and then price just continuously do what it does, right? So that's something that we also pay attention to here. And this is all part of trading, right? You gotta have a love for it. You really gotta have a love for it. Because anything could happen. Alright, so I'm possibly stopped out. Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna get stopped out from that. Right, as price pulls back. 80 card as well, pulling back pretty nice here. Um Entering into those sell opportunities. Right, so like this just probably just gonna wick all the way back down. And that's okay. We're not rushing anything. Placing those sell stops on 80 card. Alright. So I'm just waiting and seeing what's gonna happen here. Set my levels. Alright guys. Um so yeah. Yeah, let's see what happens. So hopefully everybody gained something out of this little live stream here. Uh Anybody have any charts that they're looking at? Anybody looking at any charts? Everything seems like the same. We had this pullback on the DXY again. Let's see gold. What gold doing? Alright. So let's see what gold doing on the daily here. Oh, yikes. So gold is just I don't even know what to say about gold, to be honest, right? On a daily level here, we have this area which we could possibly pay attention to, right? This is what we're looking at right now. We're just looking at this range right here. And this is how much range? This is a 480 pip range, right? So gold is just within this range, right? If we do see some, we could see a pushback down on this here, right? We could potentially see a zone in right here on gold. Um, Looking at the 1 hour, yeah, we had this bearish pushback down from this sort of a resistance area right here. If you're looking to go and buy on gold, or if you're somebody that trades gold and looking for buys, then I'll look for a possible push past this area, right? I want to see price come out of this area first, and then that continuation being more likely. However, if we do see that the XY recovering, we see the USD gaining back some strength, we would see gold fall back now. Right. And if the dollar is doing bad, then the NNCs should be doing great as well, right? Oh, so the NNCs like US 30, we have the NAS 100 as well. Basically just kind of ranging on a day, right? We basically kind of ranging, even though we had that dollar sell off, price price did move a little bit here on the NAS, but not by much, right? So that should indicate to as well that the US dollars weakening is from those bond yields, and it's not really from the fundamental fact that the dollar itself is weak, right? We did get a gradual push upwards, all right? Where we at right now, yeah, I would like to see maybe a pullback now, right? Back into these zones, yeah. And then, yeah, that continuation, that looks like a probability, right? So we're coming up on the card news. We have 30 seconds remaining. Okay. So we're coming off strong. Righty. Okay. Let's see what we have happening, right? Let's see what we get from price. Let's see what they're gonna do. NZD USD, what yeah, so we came up, right? And now we get the strong rejection. So all this rejection from this area, the top here, just basically gives me an indication that we're gonna sell off. All right, so CAD news come out. We pushed up initially. All right, so that's the push that we got, and now price is working back a little bit. Are we going to continue that push, or are we going to see price sell off? Let's see what the other ones are doing. Let's see what. Oh, price pushed up here too. Right, so we did push up. Let's see what the news came out as. Oh, interest rate decision less than expected, right? So we got an actual 50 base point increase, right? So we didn't get that 75 that we were expecting. We get less than expected. That's worse. So yeah, this push is just gonna continue on because that's worse than what we expected to see happening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense to see that from price. So this is the continuation that we're gonna see likely happening here. Mm, that's really unfortunate. So I'm going to move my sell stops from 80 card right now, right? Because we did get that sort of a lackluster interest rate. So price very might well as continue upwards, right? So we can see that price did spike to the upside for all of this. Should see card JPY coming down heavily as well. So yes, the card weakness basically settling in right now with those lackluster interest rate decision numbers. Right? Um yep. Yeah. That's all that we have for today, guys. So yeah, that resulted in an L. You win some, you lose some, right? And this live stream, I'm showing everything, right? Winners, losers, the good, the bad, right? So yeah, we're not hiding anything from anyone here in the live streams, right? We had an expectancy, price came out worse, the interest rates came out worse than expected, and that led to price falling down, right? So yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes. The next interest rate that we do have is the ECB. So I'll be on for this as well. We are looking to see a 75-point increase as well. Um, so is the ECB going to follow along with what the CAD did, or are we actually going to get the consensus from what we expect in here? So that is the next thing up on the docket right here is for the euro. Looking for that if we're going to see that increase as well. But for now, CAD has pushed it up. The only thing that we do have remaining is the BOC press conference, which may help price correct on that initial CAD push. So that's something that we'll wait for and see as well. In the next, well, I'll update those inside the Discord group as to what happens then. But for now, yeah, those CAD push really upsetting price, right? So yeah, price pulling back here too. So yeah, we might get a correction of that move, right? And this is just part of the trading as well, right? So CAD pushing down, CAD getting bullied significantly here. All right, we got pushed out of this area. If we do come back into this zone, then that would just signal that, all right, the initial move is basically over. Because if we are going to continue this bullishness after that lackluster CAD news, then we should see a continuation moving onwards, and then probably some consolidation until the next decisive movement. But for now, if we do pull back, I may enter back into a trade, right? Basically break even for the week. So yeah, any continuations? Yeah, basically starting from scratch again. So yeah, that's all that we have happening thus far. Right. So thank you for joining the live stream, guys. If you found any information, any useful information out of this, then that's great. If you have any questions, then feel free to do so in Discord, right? The Discord link, the link to the Discord community is in the description. So feel free to get access to that, as well as leave a like on this video. Leave a like on this. If you found anything from here being useful, informative, um, share it with your friends, people that you have, know any trading space. If you found that this is informative and that this may help others as well, especially when it comes to do with psychology. We touch on a little things in terms of psychology and stuff, right? So yeah, hopefully that was you know a good it was a good session despite the card not doing what we wanted to see. Um, yeah, overall, looking for we continue moving on, right? If the card does pull back, then